Ho 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 ho. Ladies, gentlemen, gamers, and fellow Call of Duty players. Welcome back once again to a little bit of a rare video nowadays on the channel because most of what I do are reactions, but sometimes I like to switch it up and give, well, technically reactions are an opinion video, but I would like to give a little bit of a review video here for us today. So, what are we here to review? Well, recently, very recently in fact, I have decided to play the Black Ops 6 Call of Duty beta. And this is where I'm going to say my thoughts on it, my concerns, how I felt, and generally also my history. So again, I don't often do these, and that's because I usually do these with shows more than games. There's not really a lot of games that are new that I personally play for this reason or the next. But I'm here today because I have played Black Ops 6 beta, and there's a reason for that. So, what is the reason? As people might have guessed on my channel with a lot of my reactions to zombies content, I used to be pretty big on zombies. Now, my Call of Duty history dates all the way back to my middle school days, mostly in 2007, 2008. Around there, I think, maybe a little bit earlier. But typically throughout my whole childhood life, I really was not exposed to these sort of things, these sort of games. And I used to think of certain things like Call of Duty as things that were for adults. When I thought of Call of Duty, I thought of war. I thought of masculinity, guns, violence even. And you know what they preached about video games? They say they make you worship the devil, at least back then. So I was really not into Call of Duty at the time, and a lot of people around my age, and especially older into the teens, when again I was in middle school, they were into it, and I was like, okay, they're weird. I'm not. How the tables have turned. And I was never really into COD. Now, I did get exposed to it here and there, but again, because I wasn't into it, I kind of ignored it. Fast forward all the way till the ending of middle school, or just about, I would say maybe around 6th grade, 7th grade, so middle to ending of middle school. That is where I got my own Xbox, and I traded my Final Fantasy 13 at the time to my good old pal, which is not around today, Mamadou. And Mamadou gave me his Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 because we really didn't know what games we should trade because he didn't know what Final Fantasy was. I didn't really know what COD was. So I was like, you know what, just give me that, I'll give you this. And we traded it. I was shocked. Now, again, you got to remember, this is like little kid me, like 10 years old, maybe a little earlier. I don't remember when I went to middle school. But I was shocked by the amount of customization, the amount of depth, and the amount of stuff in Call of Duty. Again, my stupid dumbass self really thought back in the day it was you just get a gun, you shoot people. I didn't know there was grenades, I didn't know there was lethals, tacticals, all this other stuff. I didn't know there was customization options. I didn't know there was things to chase, like skins, for getting headshots, for doing challenges. And the biggest, best thing I loved about Call of Duty, aside from all of this, which was great and was new to me, was kill streaks. I absolutely loved kill streaks. Now, I used to go in to Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, and even till today, maybe you might see it in the gameplay in the background if I decide to put the beta gameplay, which I'm thinking I will. But you know, I was always asked to Call of Duty, so I would go into the lobbies and I would get just railed by the chopper gunners, the Pavlos, the AC-130, sometimes even the occasional nuke. Tactical nuke incoming! So, you know, all these things really gave me this idea of a power fantasy. These kill streaks weren't pussy, and they really fucked you. And that got me really hard because I was really bad and I couldn't really get them. So after that, I decided to actually buy, because I eventually had to give the Modern Warfare 2 back to Mamadou, and I had to actually buy Black Ops 1. And I was like, you know, this is pretty interesting. I really like it. Let me play it. So I got it. That's how I fell in love with zombies, even though I didn't even know it existed. And up till today, I would say I kind of transitioned more to zombies, but I always touched on the multiplayer. In the multiplayer, I usually made it to the max prestige. I was usually a god at multiplayer as well after a certain age. And I was really in tune with it. And I used to be the guy every year that used to look at the leaks. I used to look at what new information is there. You know, how's the new COD different? Oh my god, they're adding in this new kill streak where you could go a little bit quieter. No way, this is going to change the game. You know, I was that guy. I got really hyped for the multiplayer and for the zombies. I was COD. I lived it, I breathed it, and the most thing I wanted was to just get the high kill streaks and have a power fantasy. Now, eventually, as we can tell, not only where this channel went, where this channel direction went, but also where I went, I kind of let go of Call of Duty because eventually, and this is gonna kind of be the little bit of a theme here in this video. It got a little repetitive. Not to say it's bad, but it really just got stuck in its own ways. And sadly, we saw the fall of zombies recently, and I still think it's failing. And Black Ops 6 hasn't really convinced me otherwise. It's only made the idea a little bit worse. But that's zombies. We're here to talk about the beta multiplayer. So, in a similar fashion, I pretty much grew out of it. And, I moved to League of Legends, I moved to MOBAs, I moved to just PC gaming in general. And now I'm mentally stuck in the gotchas, or God knows what else. But either way, I decided to hop back on and play the Black Ops 6 beta for a sort of blast from the past, right? Treyarch is probably my favorite Call of Duty developer. I love Treyarch. And I was there. I was there when they introduced the Pick 10 system. I was there when they added in wildcards. I was there for Call of Duty Ghosts. And I was really there for a lot of them, except I'm trying to remember when I broke off. And I really only fucked with the Treyarch games. Eventually, back in the day, the more in the past you go, I really did fuck with all of them. Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, when that was still there. I really played a lot of them, but eventually I just restricted it to the Treyarch games because I was really only interested in zombies, and I did eventually play the multiplayer here and there, but less and less over time I was into it. So again, it's really just trying to recapture my long lost glory and childhood fond, but not so good, memories of getting fucked in multiplayer. So I hopped on. Now, this was only for the weekend, and I tried it out, and safe to say, like I said before, it's mainly Call of Duty. Like, there's really not much more to say to it. I'm trying to think, like, what big gimmick do they have this year? Because every year they have a gimmick. Every year they're trying to reinvent the wheel just a little bit, but not too crazy enough. And this year, the big thing that they were advertising, Omni movement, right? Because realistically, in every other aspect, you have things from every other COD. And I remember back in the day, on the topic of kill streaks, I used to love seeing these new CODs and the new time frames they're going into, especially the future ones like Black Ops 2 and 3. I used to love seeing those because I would always wonder, what is the new kill streak we're going to get next? I remember the first time we got the VTOL, where it was like, wow, what is that? Like, that's not a chopper gunner, that's not a Pavlo, what is that shit? It has propellers, like, it has two things, it's like a jet, but not really. Like, it was really weird and it was new, right? And obviously we had the Blackbird, but that's from Black Ops 1. But we had a lot of these new futuristic things. The Raps, for instance, which is the upgraded futuristic dogs, which actually explode too. Granted, they die when they kill someone, but they also explode, so there's a lot more. So it's, it's a little different than dogs, but still kind of similar. But I was really curious to see what new kill streaks they were adding. Now, obviously, this is the beta. Not everything is in this thing. But overall, right, unless they were planning on adding something new and crazy, which again, we didn't get the full weapons list, I know that for sure, because there's only 3 assault rifles, 3 submachine guns, which, honestly, sadly, nowadays, I don't know if that could be the reality, but the fact that I'm questioning it is sad because some of these games come out half baked, and I wouldn't be surprised if Call of Duty did it too, especially in the zombies department from what we've seen in the past with Vanguard. But regardless, I'm 99% sure we haven't seen everything, but I really don't know what else new they can do. And just for Call of Duty in general, with the time periods we're going on, they're gonna start have to making up some new shit. And they really are now, right? Like now they're leaning more on the campaign side into more original stories, which they kind of already were, but they were basing it around certain time periods. And eventually they went to the future because they're like, that's unexplored gold. And then after they did that, now we're going back to the past, but we're really exploring all the options for at least the general wars, right? Because obviously after World at War, we went to more original type stories. Not saying World at War wasn't, but it was situated in World War II, obviously. And obviously Black Ops was Vietnam. Black Ops 1, that is. It's crazy to think we're on 6. But either way, more to the multiplayer. So the big drawing factor was Omni movement. I used Omni movement, and I did the little tutorial when they first started the game. And they say, hey, this is the big thing. Why don't we teach you? You really don't need the tutorial. And ironically enough, while I was doing the tutorial, I was actually fucking it up because it felt, I don't want to say it felt janky. That's one thing I will give Black Ops 6, even in beta form. The movement and everything feels really smooth. It feels like a AAA game. Now, is it worth $70? I don't think so. But I'll save that more for the end. But essentially, the game feels good, but just having to do these missions where I essentially drop to the side, I dolphin dive to the left, to the right, and shoot while I'm dolphin diving, I actually had a lot of trouble doing that and actually hitting the target because it felt weird. Not that it didn't feel smooth, but it felt sometimes that my shots weren't aligning, or I was shooting and it wasn't counting, or I was shooting late. But that's the tutorial, and I was probably doing it wrong anyway. But the Omni movement idea in practice is really cool, and I really like what they did with the sprint. There's technically infinite sprint, and I have no clue if they've done it in Modern Warfare 2 because that got remastered and I never played it. But I have no clue if it's in a previous multiplayer. I don't know if it's completely new, but you essentially have sprint and then you have super sprint. So you could sprint forever, which is a great feeling, and then you could super sprint for a little bit of time. And obviously there's your perks in here. I forgot what it was called. I don't think it was dexterity, but there's a perk in here that doubles your time to super sprint. So it's like the old school marathon, except marathon was forever in Black Ops 1 at least. So there's that. The game feels good, and the omni movement again in practice is nice, but realistically speaking, in the actual multiplayer games, I didn't really see it all too often. Like, obviously, there's going to be people who are drop shotting. Obviously, there's people who will use it, I would say once in a blue moon and kind of occasionally, but I wouldn't be surprised if I saw maybe once or twice a game, if at all. And then if I didn't really care. Again, it feels nice. It feels good to be able to sprint left and right. Not super sprint, regular sprint, but realistically speaking, it's either underutilized right now because people don't remember it, or it's really just useless and people just aren't going to use it. So even though it's a nice thing, it's a nice feel, it's cool to have in training range and stuff. Unless people, again, just haven't utilized it, and once they utilize it, they're going to become demons. I really just think it's kind of gimmicky. Again, it's nice to have, but for this thing to be like a big drawing point, it's kind of like whatever. You're still going to sprint straight ahead. Like, not that much isn't really going to change. So, for the majority of people that I at least played with and me, it really was not used at all. So, the Omni Sprint, the big thing, completely kind of useless, but nice to have. But aside from that, it's really just COD. It's par for the course. The kill streaks, you all know and love are here: UAV, counter UAV, chopper gunner, and there was a nuke, I think. But even the tactical equipment, the lethal equipment, even the guns, right? They're all guns you're gonna be kind of familiar with. There's the AK, there's the M16 equivalent, and obviously they might not share the same names, but in general, you're just getting the same COD. There's nothing interesting. And that's the whole thing I kind of want to bring home with Call of Duty, not just Black Ops 6, but Call of Duty in general. It's a really safe franchise at this point where I think that and especially with zombies, although I don't want to talk about zombies too much, they're really just kind of copy and pasting things. Now, if you like COD, if you like Call of Duty, you're right at home with this. It doesn't feel bad. It feels good. If you want a shooter, it's great. Now, again, I think there's other options out there that are free to play versus this one being 70. I think it's a little bit of a ripoff. It is high quality, but this kind of goes into some of the negatives, right? You could either take this as a positive or a negative, but it's Call of Duty at the end of the day. There's not much new, at least from the beta. It felt good. The Omni movement, which is the big new gimmick they're pushing, really just felt there, but not anything crazy. But the big negative I found, and they could fix this, I don't think they will, is that in the beta, there was a massive, I don't want to say massive like it was every game, but they had a huge hacking problem. There was modders in that shit. They like to advertise when I started the game and when I looked in the menus, they like to advertise, oh, Ricochet anti-cheat. I don't know who the fuck Ricochet is or what they do. I've never heard of them until now. And it's ironic when I saw that, because right after I saw that, a couple games later, I got a hacker in my lobby. And I was like, what the hell? And this is how I knew. I was watching the kill cam, and this guy had auto aim headshot. Every kill he was getting was a headshot. And hopefully, I don't know if I downloaded the footage that actually had that in it. That would be pretty funny. But the way we found out was he admitted it, number one, and number two, the teammates on my team, because he was on the enemy team, they asked him, oh, you died while hacking. How did you die? You suck. And the main thing he said was, oh, I got stuck by a random Semtex, which you can't really avoid that. So the one death he had was from a random Semtex. And I've seen videos online of people hacking. So Ricochet anti-cheat, fucking ricochet me away, because that shit sucks fucking ass. The fact that it was a problem in a beta is a really bad thing for public, like, just the public view for publicity's sake. It was just terrible. Now again, it wasn't that intrusive. It didn't happen every game, but I think it happened to me like twice, and I didn't play too much over the weekend because I was so busy. But The fact that it was being advertised like that, especially on YouTube, and that I caught it, is not good. So unless they change providers for anti-cheat, which I don't think they will, but they should, it's not looking good, man. Like already that's a really, really big concern. It's a big concern. But aside from that, I would say the other big positive is this game was fully crossplay with the platforms that I was on. I was playing on Steam and I was getting console people, which, I always love because I lick my lips and I fuck them. But in general, crossplay is good, right? You can play with your friends. But the biggest thing is there's nothing really new about this game. The graphics are alright, the gunplay is good, but it's just COD. Like that's the big issue, and that's another reason why I left. I had my fill of it. Not to say it's bad, and not to say I don't like hopping in once in a while, but I've kind of outgrown it. COD was my childhood. It holds a near and dear place to my heart, but it's just sad to see now that these games don't really stand out from each other aside from like little feelings like that. And again, I used to be the guy who said like, wow, this little thing they're changing, like now you add score streaks, right? And now with score streaks, you could cap the point and get progress towards your kill streak. You could get this, you could get that. You can have a juggernaut suit and you don't even need to like get kills in the same life. You could die and still get it. I was around for all of these things and I made a big deal about the tiniest things, but eventually I grew up and that's where we are today. So overall, again, I would say COD Black Ops 6, at least from the beta, is solid. Major hacking issues, but aside from that, we're obviously going to get more in the full game, but it's really just it doesn't feel fully corporate as in like it's soulless, but it just really feels like if you've played another COD, you're going to be right at home here. Like it's really nothing crazy. So overall, I would probably give Black Ops 6 from my playthrough of it like a, and again, 5 out of 10 being neutral rating, I'd probably give it like a 6.5. It really doesn't stand out to me. I don't know why I'd play it because I've mostly had my fun with it. Maybe I'm just burnt out of it from all the years I actually did play it. But again, if you want a tactical, well, maybe not so tactical, if you want an arcade style shooter, this is your shooter, but it's nothing special. And the sad part is, next year there's going to be a new one. And the whole cycle kind of makes things null and moot. And the sad part is, too, and this is one more negative I just remembered, is in the beta, they are kind of money grubbing because they have a shop where you can buy operator bundles that you could use now. And this is with the whole integration with Modern Warfare now, because you can also use them in Modern Warfare, I believe. You have like things you get immediately there, and then things you get immediately that you use in the beta that you'll get also in the full game when it releases. But there was multiple people I saw that bought the $100 bundle that comes with the operator Klaus and some other operator, I think Zombie Woods or some shit. Excuse me. And it was so disgusting it's making me vomit. But it was kind of nasty to see like, okay, this is a beta, right, for the weekend. Now granted there was a closed version that was a lot longer, or maybe not a lot longer, but a little longer. And it like the fact that they had these things in here to try and sell you shit is just so stupid to me, and people bought it. And that's just is kind of why I call this shit corporate. It's mostly the same. There's not much new shit in it. There is new shit, but not new shit that really matters, aka Omni Movement. And it really just feels like more and more than ever, they're really just trying to find the best ways to make money, and it's become a little intrusive. Not extremely intrusive, like it's not popping up on my screen telling me, hey, buy this now after every match, but it's like I remember the old days of COD where they only used to sell like weapon skins to you. And, people were already like, wow, what is this? Is this going too far? What do we think of this? And eventually, the slippery slope, we slid down it. And now we just have operators that ruin zombies. But either way, overall, I would probably rate Black Ops 6 6 out of 10. Or sorry, 6.5 out of 10. What special rating system should I use? I guess, oh god, I don't even know if they have the black rating because it wasn't in the beta. 6.5 out of 10 Vonderhaars, because he used to be in charge of the multiplayer, even though I don't think he was. He was in charge of some other nonsense. But he used to be a part of it, so 6.5 out of 10 Vons. I hope everyone enjoyed. Please tell me what you thought of the Black Ops 6 beta if you played it, and if you want to see more of me, please watch me at Twitch TV/Technical Channel, aka Tecnics Channel. Hope everyone enjoyed. Eee!